The first snow of December always looked the same from the penthouse window, silent, perfect, and painfully empty. Daniel Carter sat by the massive glass wall overlooking the city skyline, a glass of untouched whiskey in his hand, the faint hum of Christmas carols echoing from a distant street below. He was the CEO of Carter Enterprises, wealthy, powerful, and admired. But that night, like every Christmas before it, he was alone. It had been 10 years since he'd last celebrated Christmas with anyone. 10 years since his wife, Claire, died in a car accident on Christmas Eve, leaving him with nothing but an empire and a silence he could never fill. Every year since, he returned to that same spot, waiting, not for someone in particular, but for something that might make the ache in his chest hurt a little less. But this Christmas, fate had other plans. The doorbell rang. Daniel frowned. No one visited him. His assistant was on vacation. Security at the front gate had strict orders not to let anyone through. Yet, the chime echoed again, soft but insistent. Setting his glass aside, Daniel stood and walked toward the door. When he opened it, the last thing he expected was a woman and a little girl standing there, snowflakes tangled in their hair. I'm sorry, the woman stammered, cheeks flushed from the cold. Our car broke down just down the hill. I saw the lights and hoped someone could help. Daniel hesitated. The woman looked exhausted but kind, her eyes tired yet sincere. The child beside her clutched a small stuffed bear, shivering under her thin coat. Please, the woman said softly. It's freezing out here. Something inside Daniel, something long buried, stirred. He stepped aside. Come in. The woman exhaled in relief. Thank you, sir. As they entered, warmth and the faint scent of cinnamon filled the air. The little girl's eyes widened at the towering Christmas tree in the corner, still undecorated, standing like a monument to all the Christmases Daniel had avoided celebrating. I'm Daniel Carter, he said quietly. Lena Harper, the woman replied, brushing snow from her coat. And this is my daughter, Emily. Emily gave a small wave. Hi. Daniel forced a small smile. Hi, Emily. He led them to the fireplace and brought them blankets, his movements awkward but genuine. He wasn't used to company, especially not company that made his quiet mansion suddenly feel alive. While he called a mechanic to handle their car, Lena sat with Emily near the fire. The little girl hummed softly to herself, clutching her bear. Daniel found himself watching them, wondering what it would be like if his life hadn't taken such a lonely turn. When he returned, Lena thanked him. We'll get out of your way as soon as the car's fixed, she promised. No rush, Daniel said before he could stop himself. It's Christmas Eve. You can stay as long as you need. The truth was, he didn't want them to leave, not yet. They talked over cocoa and cookies Lena found in his kitchen pantry. She laughed about how she and Emily had been on their way to visit her sister in Vermont but took a wrong turn. Her laugh was warm, rich with life. Daniel listened, really listened, for the first time in years. As the night deepened, Emily tugged at his sleeve. Mr. Carter, why don't you have decorations on your tree? He froze. I just never got around to it. Emily frowned. But it's Christmas. Lena chuckled. Sweetheart, not everyone decorates. But everyone should, Emily insisted, turning back to Daniel with wide, hopeful eyes. Can we decorate it for you? Daniel felt something crack inside him. He wanted to say no, to keep his walls up, but when he looked into that child's earnest eyes, he couldn't. All right, he murmured. Let's decorate it. The joy that lit up Emily's face nearly broke him. They spent the next hour unboxing dusty ornaments, tangled lights, and forgotten memories. Lena played old carols from Daniel's sound system, and for the first time in a decade, laughter echoed through his house. Emily climbed on a chair to hang a silver star on top, her little face glowing with triumph. When the tree finally sparkled to life, Daniel stood still, staring at it. Claire had loved Christmas trees. For a moment, he could almost hear her voice, soft and teasing, calling him to hang the lights straighter. Lena must have noticed his silence. She was someone special, wasn't she? Daniel nodded slowly. My wife. She passed away, on Christmas Eve. The room fell quiet. Emily's small hand slipped into his. I'm sorry, she whispered. He looked down at her and smiled faintly. Thank you, sweetheart. That night, they stayed in the guest rooms. Daniel didn't sleep much, but for once, the ache in his chest felt lighter. The next morning, Christmas morning, he woke to the sound of giggling from the kitchen. Following it, he found Lena and Emily attempting to make pancakes, batter splattered across the counter. Lena laughed as she saw him. "I hope you don't mind, we thought we'd repay your kindness with breakfast." Daniel shook his head, smiling genuinely for the first time in years. "I think it's perfect." They ate together, and when the mechanic called to say the car was ready, Daniel felt a pang of disappointment. Lena noticed. "We should get going," she said softly. He wanted to ask them to stay, to not leave this warmth behind, but he didn't know how. "Of course," he said instead. Emily hugged him tightly before they left. "Thank you, Mr. Carter. Merry Christmas." "Merry Christmas, Emily." And then they were gone. The house felt emptier than ever. Days passed, and Daniel returned to his old routine, meetings, boardrooms, endless phone calls, but the silence felt different now. He kept thinking of Lena's laughter, of Emily's joy. The memory of their presence lingered like sunlight after rain. A week later, Daniel found himself driving into the small town where Lena had said her sister lived. He told himself it was just business, he had a branch office nearby, but deep down, he knew the truth. When he finally spotted Lena outside a local bakery, flour dusted on her apron, he felt his heart stir again. "Mr. Carter," she said, surprised but smiling. "Daniel," he corrected gently. "And yes, I guess I wanted to see how you were." She laughed softly. "We're doing okay. Emily won't stop talking about that Christmas tree." He smiled. "Neither can I." That day turned into coffee. Coffee turned into lunches. Lunches into shared evenings at the bakery, where Lena told him about her struggles, how she'd been raising Emily alone after her husband left, how she was fighting to keep her small bakery afloat. Daniel, used to numbers and deals, found himself helping her with business plans, supplier negotiations, marketing ideas. But somewhere between spreadsheets and late-night talks, he realized he wasn't helping out of pity, he cared. Genuinely. Lena, too, began to see past the CEO exterior, to the man who'd lost so much yet still had so much to give. Months passed, and seasons changed. By the time the next Christmas approached, Daniel wasn't alone anymore. He spent afternoons at the bakery, learning how to bake cookies with Emily, laughing at his own clumsy attempts. He decorated the tree with Lena, this time by choice, not memory. And on Christmas Eve, exactly 1 year after they'd knocked on his door, Lena and Emily returned to the penthouse, no longer guests but family. Emily ran up to the tree. "It's even prettier this year." Daniel smiled, wrapping an arm around Lena. "That's because it's full of memories now." Lena looked up at him, eyes warm. "You waited a long time to smile like that." He nodded. "I guess I just needed the right people to knock on my door." As the snow fell outside, the three of them sat by the fire, no longer strangers brought together by chance, but a family forged by hope, love, and the quiet magic of a second chance. For Daniel, Christmas no longer meant loss. It meant life, messy, unpredictable, beautiful life. And though the pain of the past never disappeared completely, it became something softer, something bearable. Because now, when he looked out at the city lights, he didn't see emptiness, he saw possibility. The CEO who had once waited alone every Christmas finally understood something no fortune could buy. That love doesn't knock twice, but when it does, you open the door. Moral: sometimes, the people who save us aren't the ones we seek, but the ones who arrive by accident, carrying nothing but warmth, hope, and the courage to knock.